Aging is an inevitable part of life, but it doesn't mean we have to quietly resign ourselves to spending our later years in silence and solitude. While growing older often brings physical fatigue and the marks of time, it also offers a rare and precious opportunity to reflect deeply on life, on what we've experienced, and on the emotions and truths we may still carry within us. Yet, for many, these later years become a time of hidden secrets and unspoken feelings. Perhaps it's fear of judgment, fear of becoming a burden, or simply the reluctance to admit that even now, they still long for love, connection, and meaning. These unshared truths can become a heavy weight on the soul, robbing them of the chance to live fully and find peace. That's why it's essential, as we age, to let go of the fear and face these truths with courage. In today's video, we'll uncover some of the most important truths you shouldn't hide as you grow older. If this resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join us on this journey of wisdom and self-discovery. Let's explore how to live the golden years with openness and purpose together. Firstly, loneliness. In old age, loneliness isn't just a fleeting feeling, but seems to become a permanent state. Many seniors, even those surrounded by family or friends, often feel out of place in their own worlds. They hesitate to admit their loneliness, fearing they will be seen as weak or burdensome. In a society that values independence, seniors often choose to keep silent, not wanting to bother or worry their loved ones. However, loneliness is an invisible burden, increasingly weighing on the mind and body, making seniors prone to depression, loss of motivation, and health decline. Loneliness should not be a secret that needs to be kept. Acknowledging loneliness doesn't make us weaker. Rather, it opens opportunities to reconnect with those around us, to seek empathy and sharing. A simple conversation, a gentle hug from grandchildren or friends can melt away years of loneliness in the soul. It's only when we dare to express our feelings that seniors can receive the love and care they've longed for but never admitted. John, a man over 70, had lived in solitude for nearly a decade since his wife passed away. Although he has 3 grown and successful children, each living in a different city far from him, they are busy with their own lives, only occasionally calling or visiting during holidays. Initially, John comforted himself that he could manage on his own, that he was used to being independent. But as days passed, loneliness gradually invaded his life. Meals alone in a large house, long evenings without conversation, and weekends spent in terrifying silence made him feel as though he was fading away from this world. During moments of reflection, John thought about finding someone to share the remainder of his life. He hoped for a new partner, someone to share the joys and sorrows that come with old age. Then, he met Margaret at a local senior club gathering. Margaret, around 65 and also widowed, lived alone. They quickly found empathy in each other, began meeting regularly, and soon developed feelings. Through hours-long conversations, they grew close and bonded. John found empathy in Margaret, and she felt relieved to be understood. Their feelings for each other grew, and John began to consider remarrying. However, when he shared this desire with his children, they objected. They feared that remarriage would bring complications, concerned that Margaret was not truly in love but was after his assets. His children were not pleased with Margaret because she wasn't the type they expected. John felt awkward because he had spent his life caring for and raising his children. But now, when he wished for their support for his happiness, they turned against him. Each passing day, he felt lonelier than ever, not just because of his children's objections, but also because he realized he was living a life devoid of empathy from his loved ones. One day, he fell ill and developed a high fever. Delirious, he felt trapped between helplessness and a terrible loneliness. His children, hundreds of miles away and only occasionally calling, were unaware of his condition. As John struggled with his fever, Margaret visited him as usual. Seeing him exhausted in bed, she immediately knew something was wrong. Margaret brought not only medicine and food, but also stayed by his side all day. ensuring he drank water and rested. She sat beside his bed, holding his hand and talking, easing the physical and emotional pain John was enduring. Under Margaret's devoted care, John gradually recovered. During the days Margaret cared for him, John not only felt physically better, but also realized something crucial. In old age, people need more than medicine or food. They need love and emotional care. Emotional needs in old age become deeper and more vital. When loved ones can't be nearby, the affection and care from a partner, even in later life, can bring an invaluable sense of comfort and security. Margaret helped John understand that love knows no age limits. In old age, though the body may weaken, the heart and soul still need to be loved and shared. He realized that needing a companion is not a sign of weakness, but a display of humanity and a desire to live meaningfully. Emotional needs are not just part of youth, but are essential in the final chapters of life. Although John's children still disapproved of his relationship with Margaret, he was no longer afraid or hesitant to express his emotional needs. He understood that his happiness should not depend on others' approval, and that, in old age, sharing emotions with a companion is more valuable than any material possession. Love, even if it comes late in life, has the power to heal, bring warmth, and help overcome the challenges of old age. Secrets about loneliness and emotional needs should not become silent burdens that weigh heavily on the soul. Every person, regardless of age, deserves to be loved, cared for, and to live fully with their emotions. The second secret is the decline in health. Many seniors often choose to hide their declining health. They do this not because they are unaware of the issue, but because they do not want to become a burden to their children and grandchildren, nor do they want to cause worry or disrupt the lives of others. However, this concealment can lead to severe consequences. Take Elizabeth, an elderly mother who has lived a self-reliant life, always taking care of herself and never complaining to her children about any health problems. Despite feeling increasingly fatigued and occasionally experiencing chest pains, she did not inform her children, thinking these were just normal signs of aging and not wanting to worry them. Her children, living their own lives far from home, believed their mother was still healthy and managing on her own. However, Elizabeth's condition worsened, and one day, she suffered a severe heart attack while home alone. By the time she was taken to the hospital, doctors concluded her condition had become critical due to not being detected and treated earlier. Elizabeth had to undergo long and painful treatments, and although she ultimately survived, her health was permanently weakened. Her children, upon learning the truth, felt not only remorse, but also haunted by a sense of helplessness for not having been able to help their mother in time. Elizabeth's story is a reminder that at old age, hiding one's health issues is not a way to protect one's children and grandchildren, but sometimes leads to unnecessary suffering. Being open about one's health not only helps the family make informed decisions, but also allows the elderly to live a more peaceful and easier life. When seniors hide their illnesses, they conceal not just their physical pain, but also deprive their loved ones of the chance to care for and support them. The third secret is financial issues. Finance is one of the most sensitive issues that many elderly people prefer not to share, even with their closest family members. They often choose to keep quiet about how much money they have, what assets they own, or the debts they carry. They fear that revealing too much about their finances could lead to disputes, misunderstandings, or even greed from their descendants. However, money and assets are temporary, while family relationships are meant to last. Hiding finances may protect seniors from immediate troubles, but it also creates a risk for greater conflicts after their passing. Without financial transparency, families can find themselves in unclear situations, not knowing what to do when the elderly pass away without a clear plan for their assets. This can lead to disputes among siblings, breaking family bonds, and creating irreparable wounds. Financial transparency does not mean the elderly must share all details with everyone, but they should have a clear plan and communicate important information to their heirs in a sensible manner. This not only helps to safeguard assets, but also prevents unnecessary conflicts. Clear communication about financial status, writing a will, and guiding children on how to handle assets after death is a way to ensure that everything is managed properly and fairly. Dorothy, a 78-year-old woman living in the suburbs of London, had lived a financially successful life. Her husband passed away 15 years ago, leaving her a large estate that included real estate, cash, and several profitable investments. However, Dorothy was very private about her financial situation, even with her two sons. She always believed that keeping her children unaware of her assets would help them become independent and not reliant on her. Dorothy never spoke about the money she had in the bank or the real estate she owned. She had also never considered writing a will, thinking she was still healthy and didn't need to worry about it yet. But everything changed when Dorothy suddenly suffered a stroke and passed away a few days later in the hospital. Her death put her sons, William and Thomas, in an unexpected situation. When she passed, her house was locked, and nobody knew the safe code or where she kept important documents about her assets. Initially, both brothers thought their mother only owned the house and a small amount of savings. But as they started investigating and talking to lawyers, they discovered she owned much more than they had thought. After months of searching, William and Thomas found that their mother had a significant investment in several real estate companies, along with a series of bank accounts and investment funds. However, without a will and any guidance from their mother, the brothers started disputing how to divide the assets. Thomas, who believed he had taken care of their mother more, demanded a larger share of the estate. Meanwhile, William felt everything should be divided equally. The dispute became so intense that they had to hire lawyers and go to court. The grief of losing their mother hadn't even subsided, and now William and Thomas had to face financial conflicts that strained their brotherly bond. If Dorothy had previously planned her finances and clearly shared information about her assets, this situation could have been avoided. The brothers would have known their responsibilities and rights and wouldn't have had to struggle with debts and unnecessary disputes. But Dorothy's secrecy led to family conflicts, and the assets she left behind, instead of being a legacy, became a source of division. This is a clear warning about the dangers of keeping financial secrets in old age. Transparency and planning not only give peace of mind to the elderly, but also ensure that their loved ones don't have to face legal consequences or family disputes unnecessarily. The fourth secret is past mistakes. Mistakes are inevitable in the journey of life, but more important is the ability to forgive and let go. Confronting past mistakes is not about relieving pain, but about freeing the soul from unnecessary burdens. When seniors choose to hide their regrets, they unintentionally create a mental prison where remorse and guilt deprive them of peace of mind. Instead of hiding, the elderly should find ways to share their mistakes and feelings with loved ones. This not only helps them feel relieved, but also serves as a valuable lesson for their descendants, that even the most experienced individuals can make mistakes, and acknowledging and learning from them is what truly matters. The story of Richard, an 80-year-old man living in Canada, is a typical example of the weight of past mistakes. When he was younger, he was an ambitious and determined man, but during his career, he made a significant mistake. He invested all of his family's assets into a business venture that failed. This financial collapse forced his family to live in difficult conditions for many years, and he always carried a sense of guilt for having put his family in that situation. Even though Richard later somewhat restored his finances and his family overcame the hardships, the regret of that mistake haunted him for the rest of his life. He never told his children about that period, fearing they would lose respect for him. He hid his guilt, always tormenting himself with the thought that he had hurt his family. But then, one Christmas evening, while sitting with his children, his eldest son, a businessman, talked about the difficulties he was facing at work and his fear of making a mistake. At that moment, Richard realized he needed to share his own story to help his son overcome the challenges. He recounted everything, from the wrong decision he had made to the consequences his family had endured. When his son heard his father's story, he didn't blame or lose faith in him. Instead, He felt extremely grateful. "I never knew you went through that. And I think it's strong of you to face your mistake and stand up after the fall," his son said. By sharing his mistakes, Richard not only helped his son gain more confidence to overcome difficulties, but also freed himself from the guilt that had weighed on him for decades. Hiding mistakes does not make them disappear. It only makes them heavier over time. Instead of carrying these secrets to the end of their lives, the elderly should choose to share them as a way to pass on life experiences and find peace of mind. Descendants learn not only from the successes of the previous generation, but also from the mistakes, difficulties, and how those before them faced and overcame them. Dear friends, these are the 4 secrets that the elderly should not keep. If you find these insights meaningful, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. In the final part of this video, we will listen to the story of Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest and most influential businessmen in American history. Carnegie is not only famous for his vast fortune from the steel industry, but also for his life philosophy on using his wealth to benefit humanity. 1. Philosophy of wealth and asset management. Andrew Carnegie was one of the pioneers in openly discussing the concept that wealth carries ethical responsibilities. He believed that leaving excessive wealth to descendants could make them reliant and diminish their motivation to lead independent lives. He wrote, "Wealth is a gift from society, and it is the duty of the wealthy to return it to society in a meaningful way." Carnegie did not see becoming rich as inherently evil. Instead, he believed that wealth is valuable only when used to assist others and affect positive change. To him, wealth was not an end in itself, but a means to improve society. Carnegie's philosophy on wealth extended beyond merely giving away money posthumously. He emphasized that the wealthy should use their resources during their lifetimes to ensure that their impact is genuinely positive. Carnegie argued that waiting until death to distribute wealth could lead to misuse or waste of those resources. 2. Wills and asset distribution. Carnegie was meticulous about estate planning and asset distribution. He understood that a clear will was the only way to ensure that his assets would be used according to his wishes. He didn't just write a simple will. He established foundations, charities, and detailed guidelines for using his wealth for community purposes. In 1911, he founded the Carnegie Corporation of New York, a charitable organization to which he allocated the majority of his wealth to support educational and research activities. To ensure that his assets were managed over the long term, Carnegie didn't just leave his estate to existing organizations. He created and managed charitable funds himself. This is a prime example of proactive and sustainable asset management. Carnegie focused not just on short-term charitable goals, but also on sustainable development objectives. For instance, he built over 2.500 public libraries across the United States, Canada, and Europe. This not only improved community education at the time, but also laid a lasting foundation of knowledge for future generations. Carnegie believed that leaving too much wealth to descendants could spoil them and diminish their drive for success. Instead, he advocated for using wealth in one's lifetime to improve the lives of the less fortunate. Carnegie famously wrote, "The man who dies rich, dies disgraced." Andrew Carnegie left a legacy not just of material wealth, but also of profound philosophical values on how individuals should manage assets and contribute to society. These timeless values have profoundly influenced how subsequent generations approach philanthropy, social responsibility, and long-term planning. To fully appreciate the values Carnegie left behind, we need to delve into the specifics from his views on education, the ethical responsibilities of the wealthy, and his vision for long-term asset management. Firstly, Carnegie valued education and knowledge as fundamental bases for improving societal living conditions. In a society where the impoverished were often limited in educational opportunities, Carnegie saw the power of knowledge in breaking these barriers. He not only donated money, but also built thousands of public libraries worldwide, providing spaces for learning and development. For Carnegie, giving people free access to knowledge meant empowering them to change their lives and, by extension, society at large. The public libraries he established were not just buildings filled with books, but symbols of hope, knowledge, and change. Through education, people could equip themselves with the skills to escape poverty and assert their worth. Carnegie's contributions to education not only transformed the lives of millions, but also created a knowledge legacy that persists today. Additionally, Carnegie was one of the first globally to actively promote the social responsibility of the wealthy. For him, wealth was not solely a personal achievement, but also a product of societal contribution. Therefore, he believed the wealthy had a duty to give back to society, and their assets should not merely serve personal interests. This view was contrary to the tradition of many wealthy families of his time, who accumulated wealth for themselves or passed it solely to their descendants. Carnegie not only opposed the hoarding of wealth, but also openly criticized leaving excessive assets to the next generation, as it could diminish their motivation. He also offered a distinct vision of using assets during one's lifetime, rather than waiting until death to start sharing. Carnegie not only wrote about this philosophy in The Gospel of Wealth, but also acted on it, donating most of his wealth during his lifetime to charitable and educational causes. He established a culture of philanthropy where philanthropists and the wealthy were not only expected to give money, but also to take responsibility for using their wealth to create real societal change. These actions provided immediate benefits and left a lasting impact. Many wealthy individuals like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have been deeply influenced by Carnegie's thoughts, emulating his path and continuing to use their personal wealth to address global issues like health, education, and poverty. Furthermore, Carnegie left an important lesson on responsible estate planning. He understood that leaving assets to society involved more than just donating money. It required detailed, long-term planning to ensure that these assets were used purposefully. By establishing charitable organizations, investment funds, and management systems, Carnegie created a sustainable mechanism that allowed his wealth to continue benefiting society long after his death. This lesson in transparency and responsibility in will-making and asset distribution not only helped avoid financial disputes after death, but also ensured that his assets were truly used to improve societal living. Just as he intended, Carnegie also recognized that assets could create the most lasting value when invested in education and knowledge, elements that could enhance individual and community capabilities across generations. His investments in public libraries, universities, and research institutions were not just ways to elevate knowledge, but also to foster a cycle of sustainable development. This is what makes Carnegie's legacy particularly significant and enduring. He left not just money, but a system that continues to grow and aid millions in successive generations. Overall, the values Andrew Carnegie left for society and future generations encompass more than just wealth distribution. They represent a model of using assets to affect long-term positive change. From valuing knowledge, encouraging the social responsibility of the wealthy, to planning assets sustainably, Carnegie built a living legacy, not only influencing his era, but also inspiring a host of modern philanthropists and entrepreneurs. His ideas have helped shape a significant part of Western culture regarding asset management, will-making, and the social responsibilities of the wealthy. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. We hope these insights brought you valuable and meaningful perspectives. If you found this content helpful, please share it with your friends and family to spread the positive message. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe to stay updated with more valuable content. See you in the next video.